Hello everyone, I'm Nakwi from Birds of Play, and welcome back to Finalizing Fan Fantasy.
We've talked about this.
I mean translating Final Fantasy.
Go on then.
A series where we take a look at the differences between the Japanese and the English versions of Final Fantasy games in order to understand them better, or maybe just to appreciate them in a new way. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the Hymn of the Fayth from Final Fantasy X, or Inori no Uta, as it's known in the Japanese version, meaning Song of Prayer. However, this isn't strictly speaking a question of translation, since the Hymn of the Fayth wasn't actually localized for the English version. But even though there is no actual English involved, I still thought that it might be an interesting topic to cover, since an understanding of Japanese is necessary in order to decipher the song's hidden meaning, giving added weight to this beautiful and recurring hymn that plays such a decisive role in the events of Final Fantasy X. The Hymn of the Fayth was composed by Masashi Hamauzu and Nobuo Uematsu, Final Fantasy X famously being the first installment in the Final Fantasy series wherein Uematsu was not the sole composer. The lyrics to the song were then written by the scenario writer Kazushige Nojima, who also wrote the lyrics for Liberi Fatali from Final Fantasy VIII and another song from Final Fantasy X, the wonderful Stekitane. In the case of the Hymn of the Fayth, however, the lyrics aren't as straightforward as the classically romantic Stekitane and actually need to be systematically reorganized in order to make sense. It seems like someone at Squaresoft was having a lot of fun mixing up letters, seeing as the language of the alphabet is also based on shifting letters around. In order to understand the Hymn of the Fayth, however, the letters don't need to be replaced as with the alphabet language, but rather rearranged. So here are the original lyrics as they appear in both the Japanese and the English versions of the game. Apologies in advance.
Well, that'll be on the internet forever.
And on the off chance that you think this is Japanese, let me assure you that it isn't, at least not yet.
Can I sit down now?
Sit down, please. So, one of the reasons you might think that this looks or sounds Japanese is that even though the placements have been jumbled up a bit, the lyrics still follow the Japanese syllabary, meaning that these are all sounds a person speaking Japanese would be expected to make. But now let's get the lyrics sorted out so we can start to really make sense of them. First, we align the first 4 words into 4 separate columns, writing vertically and separating the sounds according to the Japanese syllabary by writing in hiragana. Then we take the 5th word and give it a similar treatment. Wow, such an elegant puzzle, Nojima-sensei. Oh, we still have 1 word left to decipher. No problem, I'll just do the same thing. No wait, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. How about... Okay, there we go. A little bit less elegant, but we finally have the full version of the lyrics in Japanese, and it reads as follows. Inori yo, ebonju, yume mi yo, inori go, hatenaku, sakaeta mae. Meaning, pray, you Yevon, behold a dream, children of prayer, prosper without end. In the lyrics, we see some different terminology between the Japanese and the English versions, relating to the lore of Final Fantasy X. The Fayth being known as Inorigo, or Children of Prayer, in the Japanese version. I've always quite liked the term Fayth personally, the obsolete spelling giving them both an air of mystery and a feeling of historical relevance. In relation to the Hymn of the Fayth, however, I prefer the term Inorigo, or Children of Prayer, since these spiritual entities are seemingly confined to their respective temples, or cavern in the case of Yojimbo, perpetually reciting the Hymn of the Fayth as if locked in prayer. The hidden meaning of the prayer, and with it the facade of Yevonism, ultimately being something they rebel against, only dreaming of the dream to end, not to prosper without end. So there we have it, the meaning behind the Hymn of the Fayth. If you're satisfied with that, feel free to end the video here.
Yes, please.
But if you'll afford me a minute of your time, I would like to present you with an alternative version of the lyrics that I wrote in order to celebrate the children of prayer and their great sacrifice.
Are we singing again?
Yes, stand up again.
見えないすぼむの天れり余裕よご自由の柿 仕事
Meaning, forsake ye Yevon, sleep, children of prayer, hoping you may reach the shore of death.
Jesus Christ!
But don't worry, since Final Fantasy X is heavily inspired by Buddhism, this shore of death that I mentioned is not intended to have negative implications. The phrasing references Kano Kishi or Higan, literally meaning his shore or the shore of the Buddha, which in itself is a reference to Nirvana, meaning that the children of prayer have finally reached their ultimate destination. We could also replace Shi no Kishi with Higane, but that way the Buddhist connotations would become even stronger, and I wanted to stay away from explicitly referencing external religious traditions. This talk of death is also meant as a little nod to Simo Guaro and his dream of alleviating Spira's suffering by extinguishing all life. For even though the Fayth never wished for death for the whole of Spira, they nevertheless wish it for themselves, their conclusive removal from the world not being a case of the ultimate self-sacrifice, but rather the ultimate reward after a long period of austeric servitude to the people of Spira. But enough about me using Final Fantasy X as an excuse to write cryptic poetry in Japanese. In closing, I hope this video helped you understand the hidden meaning behind the Hymn of the Fayth, as well as to sympathize with the long-standing plight of the Fayth, or the Children of Prayer. Now go play Final Fantasy X again. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, then I guess that makes you a pretty strange individual. But don't worry, we welcome your kind here, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time,